All right, Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Ruach Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. I just finished watching this video done by the elder apostle Ramlab, and basically going into adultery, all right. And I'm gonna do sort of a response to it, all right, which he basically went into it and broke it down beautifully, all right, in depth with the scriptures showing you exactly what adultery is, okay, and how this the IUIC trying to use Job 30:31 and 9, all right, to breaks basically they broke it down wrong, but that's not what I'm focusing on. I'm gonna focus on an account, okay, here of King David, okay. Now I'm gonna get two different accounts, okay, where King David dealt with two different women, okay, and we're gonna go through the scriptures and see, all right, which under what condition, all right, did David commit adultery? Okay, was it because he had more than one woman? Okay, or was it because he dealt with another man's woman? All right. Now this is 1 Samuel 25, and I start at 36. All right, and we're gonna be dealing with Abigail, all right, which was the wife of Nabal. Okay, so now this is after because when you read the account, okay, David was basically on his way to come putting Nabal and his whole house to death out of anger, because after everything they did, protecting Nabal's sheep and his servants, all right, Nabal basically railed on basically David's request, for some food and so on and so forth, all right, and in return, Abigail, the wife of Nabal, all right, without Nabal's knowing, came and brought, the food and pacified David's wrath. So let's read 1 Samuel 25 and 36. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house, like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing, less or more, until the morning light, so after he was sober. But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife told him these things, that his heart died. His heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And it came to pass that the Lord basically put him in a vegetative state, in a coma, you could say. It says, and it came to pass about 10 days after, the Lord smote Nabal that he died. All right. And when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be the Lord Yahweh, that hath pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and hath kept his servant from evil. Because what? David was going to basically commit murder, because if he were to kill Nabal, it wouldn't be justified according to the law. All right. It says, for the Lord hath returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And the reason I say that is because there's no law that says if a man does not want to share his substance with you in return for what you've done for him, in the case of David, you can put him to death. All right. So it says, for the Lord hath returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And David sent and communed with Abigail to take her to him to wife. Okay. Now it says, and when the servants of David were come to Abigail to Carmel, they spake unto her, saying, David sent us unto thee to take thee to him to wife. All right. Now the reason this was okay, all right, let's get this. Romans chapter 7, verse 2. It says, for the woman which hath an husband is bound by the law to her husband. All right, so she has to stay with her husband. She has to serve her husband. She has to basically desire only her husband. She can't go deal with other men and all those things. It says, so long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. She is now a widow. So then, if while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. All right. So being that Nabal was dead, it was okay for David to take Abigail to wife. Now that's not the main point I'm trying to get to, but we're going to hit that point once we read a little more. So it says here, verse 41, and she arose and bowed herself on her face to the earth, and said, Behold, let thine handmaid be a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my lord. And Abigail hasted and rose and rode upon an ass with 5 damsels of hers that went after her. And she went after the messengers of David and became his wife. Now check this out. David also took Ahinoam of Jezreel, and they were also both of them his wives. Okay? They were also both of them his wives. So was this adultery? That David had taken, he just took Abigail, and he also took Ahinoam. Was that adultery because both of them became his wives? Okay, let's see. It says, verse 44. But Saul had given Michal his daughter, David's wife, to Phalti the son of Laish, which was of Gallim. Now, no, this was not adultery. Okay, this is not adultery because as it's very clear throughout the scriptures, okay, that adultery, if a man commits adultery, it is because he slept or had sex with another man's wife. Okay, in the sense of while that man is alive and he is together with his wife, if another man goes and lays with that married woman, that is adultery. Okay, that is how a man commits adultery. If a woman commits adultery, it's the same situation. It's just the main character is now flipped to being the woman. She is married to a man, as we just read in Romans 7. She is married to a man. She goes and has sex with another man. Guess what? That is adultery. So both that woman who's married and the man who slept with the married woman have committed adultery. Okay? So this was not adultery because Ahinoam was no longer married, all right, to Ahinoam. Abigail was no longer married to Nabal, all right, and plus Ahinoam was if David took her to wife, she was basically single. So it's not adultery for him to have 2 wives. Now let's get another account, because guess what? It didn't stop here. All right, this is 1 Chronicles 14:2. It says, and David perceived that the Lord had confirmed him king over Israel, for his kingdom was lifted up on high because of his people Israel. And David took more wives at Jerusalem. Hold up, so David kept going off? So King David, a man after the Most High's heart, kept going off. First he had 2 wives, and then after he was made king and, brought to the top of the top, he took more wives. But I thought that's adultery. I thought if you can only have 1 wife. If you had another wife, that's adultery. Well, let's see how the Lord dealt with David even after him taking more wives. It says, and David begat more sons and daughters. Now these are the names of his children which he had in Jerusalem: Shammua and Shobab and Nathan and Solomon and Abhar and Elishua and Elpelet and Noga and Nepheg and Japhia and Elishama and Beliada and Eliphalet. Boom. And when the Philistines heard that David was anointed king over all Israel, all the Philistines went up to seek David, and David heard of it and went out against them. And the Philistines came and spread themselves in the valley of Rephaim, and David inquired of the Most High, saying, shall I go up against the Philistines? And wilt thou deliver them into mine hand? And the Lord Yahweh said unto him, go up, for I will deliver them into thine hand. Now hold on a second. Time out. Slow down. Let's take it back real quick. Couple steps. So if David just took more wives, if that's adultery, why would the Lord, number 1, answer David, and number 2, tell David that he was basically going to help him win the battle? He was going to deliver them into his hand. But he just committed adultery though. Hold up. He took more wives. The Lord's supposed to be angry at him. The Lord's supposed to have him put to death. Why is the Lord saying he's going to basically help him win against the Philistines? Because that's not adultery. All right. Now we're going to get an account that was adultery, and you're going to see the different reaction the Lord had. Okay. This is 2 Samuel 11:2. It says, and it came to pass in an evening tide that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman, and one said, Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, or Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Boom. The wife of Uriah the Hittite. Now, what's wrong with this situation? Uriah is still alive, and that is his wife. Okay? Verse 4, And David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him, and he lay with her, for she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house. You hear this? He laid with her while she was still the wife of Uriah the Hittite, while he was still alive. That is adultery. Okay? That is adultery. David committed adultery by performing this act. Verse 5, And the woman conceived and sent and told David and said, I am with child. So now David at this point, his heart is probably jumping. Like shit. All right. It says, And David sent to Joab saying, Send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. And basically what happened here is, David tried to cover it up. He tried to have Uriah go back. He said, go sleep with your wife, go chill. Try to make it seem like nothing happened. But see, the act was already done. He had already committed adultery. Okay? Why? Because he laid with another man's woman. And then on top of that, he committed murder by having Uriah the Hittite basically conspired to have him put in the hot zone to where he could be put to death. Okay? And now let's see what the Lord's reaction was, okay, towards this, man. Let's move on. 2 Samuel, the 12th chapter. So it says here, And the Lord sent Nathan unto David, and he came unto him and said unto him, There were two men in one city, and one rich and the other poor. And he goes into the parable, all right, basically indirectly letting David know, all right, that, hey, man, you committed adultery. He just used this as a way to make him more conflicting because David got upset after hearing this, only to find out that he was the one within this story, which you can read on your own. He was the one within the story, all right, that was in the wrong. Okay? And let's read. Verse 7. It says, And Nathan said unto David, Thou art the man. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. And I gave thee thy master's house and thy master's wives into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things. So if he wanted more wives, if he wanted more riches, if he wanted anything, the Lord would have given him. Verse 9, Wherefore hast thou despised the commandment of the Lord to do evil in his sight? So what evil did he do? We're about to read it. Thou hast killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword. Now, if that was the only evil, it should have stopped there. But it goes on to mention what? And has taken his wife to be thy wife, and has slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon. Because I believe the battle that was going on was between Israel and the Ammonites. And it was getting hot. So David had Joab move Uriah towards the area which was more dangerous. Okay. So he basically committed adultery with Uriah's wife, and then had Uriah basically murdered. Okay, because he set him up for that. It says, Now therefore the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. Okay? And thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house, and I will take thy wives before thine eyes, and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of the sun. So why did the Lord do all this? And what did David say? It says, For thou didst it secretly. What did David do secretly? What did David do secretly? We just read it here in 2 Samuel. All right. He saw Bathsheba. She looked good. He inquired. They brought her. He had sex with her. And then he sent her back and tried to get Uriah to come back and go with her like nothing happened. So nobody will find out. That is what he did secretly. He committed adultery. Okay? It says, but I will do this thing before all Israel and before the sun. And David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said unto David, the Lord hath also put away thy sin, thou shalt not die. So the Lord had mercy on David and forgave David, all right, by not putting him to death, but he still suffered another means of judgment for that. Okay, so now the main thing is here, all right, why was the Lord displeased at David? Okay, let me see where it is. Yeah, why was the Lord displeased at David here in 2 Samuel 12, but he wasn't displeased with David in 1 Chronicles, the 14th chapter? Why didn't the Lord send Nathan to David when he took more wives? If that was committing adultery, okay, why wasn't the same reaction that was given here? Okay, the way the Lord told him that you sinned. The Lord told him you sinned. But hold up here. When after David took more wives, and he went to inquire of the Lord about the battle against the Philistines, why did the Lord reply, you sinned? Okay, and I'm going to punish you for that. Instead, the Lord delivered him. The Lord said, the Lord said, go up. I will deliver them into thine hand. The Lord was supporting David. Okay? But he just took more wives. He had more than one wife. Because ultimately, that is not adultery. Okay? Here it is. The Lord created all these women. More women are on the planet Earth than men. But one man is supposed to have only one woman. What about the rest of the women? The single women? Are they supposed to turn lesbians? Okay? It's madness, man. The reason, all right, that the Lord was displeased with David was because of the act that he did, which was adultery, which was sleeping or having sex with another man's wife. Okay? While the man was still alive. That is adultery. Okay? The woman was not a widow, and she was not single. That is the act of adultery. Okay? So anyway, with that, I'm going to end it off there. Lord willing, you were edified. Okay? That's just a one, because we mention these things. Like when when brothers do videos, we mention these things. Like, oh, what about King David? What about such and such? He had this, but I just wanted to go more in depth with it, show you the scriptures on it. All right, and show you the different reactions. See, when David dealt with, was it Abigail? Let me see. Yeah, when David dealt with Abigail, all right, and when he had two wives and he took more wives, that wasn't adultery. The Lord was not upset at David for that. But the second he slept with another man's wife, that was the sin. That was adultery, man. And it's clearly stated in the law. Okay, so when you read these scriptures, man, it's pretty clear and cut. If you hear somebody telling you otherwise, man, check the scriptures. Okay, and you'll find out that, whoa, this person is not speaking according to this word. So in closing, let me actually get this. All right, Isaiah 8:20. It says, to the law and to the testimony, and that's the whole scriptures. If they speak not according to this word, what I just did was I just spoke according to this word because I just went into the scriptures and showed you what it says. Okay? If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. And if there's no light in them, then what? They're going to mislead you. All right? So, hey, with that, I hope you were edified. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachak, Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.